Thanks for joining me for a Kick Up the Arts. I am Nicola Meehan. And to celebrate this year's Record Store Day, and records in general, let's face it, we love them, I'm chatting with David MacGregor, aka Broken Chanter, about his terrific new album. The follow-up to 2024's Chorus of Doubt is a rallying cry for empathy and a call to arms to hold on to each other. Its title and spirit is inspired by the incredible vision of Indian artist Arpita Singh. It is out now on legendary Scottish label Chemikal Underground, and it is called This Could Be Us, You, or Anybody Else. David invited me round for a coffee and we chatted about the new record and his bygone days in Kid Canaveral. And if you fancy seeing him live, he's at Voxbox in Edinburgh for Record Store Day tomorrow. That's April the 18th, along with previous A Kick Up the Arts guest Catherine Joseph, among others. You can also catch Broken Chanter live in Dundee, Inverness, Aberdeen, Glasgow and Leith in the coming weeks. I'll put a link to the dates online, and I'll mention them again at the end of our chat. For now though, to the south side of Glasgow with Broken Chanter on a sunny morning.
Actually, can you say something into it, please?
Yes, for breakfast I had porridge and a cup of coffee. Salt only in the porridge because...
You're a normal human being?
I'm a normal person, I'm not a maniac.
Do you know, I actually quite like... Make it with salt, put on salt, and then a wee bit of sugar.
I'm after sugar just now.
Oh yeah. Mm. I'm wild. It's the decadence in me. That's what happens. Thank you for the coffee. What a gorgeous sunny day it is through here in Glasgow. Very nice indeed. I was reflecting on my way to come and see you, David, that I realised it was far too long since we had last spoken when it occurred to me that I had chatted with your mother more over the past few years than I had with you. And I don't even know your mum.
I know. Every now and again she'll mess me going, I've just had a lovely chat with Nicola. I was like, Nicola me? And you say, yeah, I've just bumped into her and we're chatting away. And I was like, alright, I've not seen her for ages.
I know, I would be like, how's David? How's he getting on? Last time I was in a coffee shop in Stirling.
Of course,
and she was like, I'm through meeting my friend. And the first time I met her is actually a lovely remembrance because, you know, so much of this record and your music and your gigs as well at the moment are rooted in sort of Glasgow and live music and Chemikal Underground. And I'd been at Stereo in Glasgow recording an interview with Mandarin from BIS for Radio Scotland, and up we came from the basement. There's you and your mammy having your lunch. That was the first time I met her.
Of course, yeah. No, she loves a wee trip through Stirling. But no, I think you've genuinely seen her about 5 times since I last seen you. Or I seen you in Stirling, sorry, the Tollbooth when I was opening for Emma. But before that,
no, it's definitely been far too long. Do you know, that Stirling gig was absolutely wonderful. And again, my goodness, that goes back to Chemikal Underground as well. Emma Pollock, of course, brilliant solo record, coming to the podcast soon. Going back to the Delgados and going back to co-founding Chemikal Underground way back in the mid-90s. You know, that for you and that time for you really as a young guy getting into music was so important, wasn't it?
Aye, well, I remember I picked up the Mogwai EP with Christian Steps on it, the No Future, you can bleep it out, fuck the curfew EP. And that must have been, I think I got it came out at the end of 1998, I think, and I got it at the start of 1999 for Avalanche as it was at the time on Dundas Street in the town. Just love music now, and I looked a wee bit more into it, and I'd seen an article with Mogwai in Select magazine, and I was just a wee guy then. I think it was start 99, so only 15. So it was really it was mad to see that there was this band and then this label that was basically going, we're not going to go to London. And at the time seemed to be really enjoying thumbing their nose at music and industry convention. And it was kind of shaped my whole thinking about music going forward after that, just that you didn't have to wait for somebody to put something out for you. You would DIY was a really good way to do it, and there was absolutely no reason to be moving to London anymore because people were doing it in Scotland. People were proud of doing it.
You're saying you were maybe about 15 at this point, so were you making music? Were you listening to music? Were you writing songs by then?
Not really. Also, we can retroactively correct my age. So before people start doing maths.
I can't do it, you could have told me any age. I can't count.
Yeah, when I was 3 years old in 1999. I think at that point I only had a bass guitar because I wanted to write songs, but then I realised that quite quickly that relying on someone else to play the guitar whilst I was trying to sing was not a good way forward. It was a kind of an impediment to actually writing anything. So I got an off-brand Fender bass for a junk shop in Dumbarton Road in Partick. I don't know what it is now. It's certainly not the same bric-a-brac shop as it was in, but it was like a Fonder Jazz.
Oh, really?
It was something really...
So close.
It was...
Fembear.
Yeah, but it was like 45 quid or something. And then again, it was like, oh, hang on, I can't quite write songs just with a bass guitar. I mean, I'd actually started to write songs with it, and they were rotten, but it needed an extra element, so I was like, right, okay, I'm going to learn the guitar. And then I used to work in McDonald's, the Partick McDonald's around the turn of the century there, and so my first Yamaha Pacifica actual electric guitar came for that, for wages for McDonald's. So every time
sticking it to the man.
I know, exactly. Every time, like, there was not a lot of employment options for plucky teenagers in
Listen,
the year 2000
it's seen my eldest daughter through 2 years worth of gigs. There's something to be said for that.
But yeah, it was, I think I procrastinated an awful lot. I was terrified to finish a song, to actually stand behind something and go, aye, that's that done. But I wrote something for a couple of terrible bands when I was in secondary school. Unfortunately, there's some photographic evidence of some of that.
I will insist on this for research purposes.
I found a picture of me at 17 years old, dressed as Alice Cooper, wearing a wife beater, dark mascara, and my girlfriend's leather trousers. And it's an arresting image.
That is a vision. Next album cover?
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be allowed.
Athena poster?
Maybe. But it's got a riding crop in it as well.
Of course. I was thinking there's something missing from this image, and that's what it was. It was a riding crop. But yeah, very much that idea of Chemical, and later, of course, with the Fence Collective as well, that idea not just of DIY, put on your own gigs, make your own records, start your own label, but also being completely sort of egalitarian about that. Everybody can do it. And you did, so straight to video. I mean, you were just like, right, let's put out records, let's form a band, let's do our own thing. Yeah,
so the first came up with straight to video records because it was maybe a comment on our prowess at the time. But like the thing was with my first band, Kid Canaveral, when we were starting out, we were really bad, and that's not like false modesty. It's just like none of us could play our instruments particularly well, and I couldn't really write songs. But we spent a few years, like while we were at university, just practicing and almost kind of wringing the nonsense out of us, and we put out 2 kind of demo CDs that were EPs that were luckily recorded onto CDRs that were such low quality they'll all have disintegrated by now, I think. But
you say that, and yet
I do hope they're all away. But I mean, they were rotten, and there was some interesting bits on it, but like I didn't have my own voice by that point. I didn't, and there was a lot of that'll do, and then
but also getting something out there, making it real, and just unleashing it rather than being so precious. You're saying procrastination, but the other thing about that is it can sometimes be self-protection, can't it?
Yes.
And you've got to be brave and just get it out there.
But one of the things that was, so we finally wrote some better songs. So I moved to Edinburgh in 2005, and I started to kind of write things that were a bit more, I don't know, I stopped trying to fit myself into a certain thing that I thought I should be doing, and rather than going, that'll do, I actually spent some time going, that's not good, so let's just take that bit out, and actually spending some time maybe thinking about writing songs, and that gave us our first 7-inch single, Smash Hits, which was it was kind of an outlier. So there's something that I feel bad for younger artists today because they don't have the ability to do this, but we had 2 good songs,
Mm-hmm.
and we had, you know, the rest of the set was absolute dreck, like mince. But for a couple of years, we were able to go up and down the UK, like playing, you know, that difficult gig in Doncaster on a Tuesday night, or you know, making an arse of yourself in Cardiff another night. But like, you learned what worked. You learned what songs were actually good. If you're still holding on to the hope that one of them was, is that okay? And you would soon learn that it's not.
Or yes, it is.
Yeah, but then it's like, alright, so these 2 most recent ones, people love these, and then the rest, it's a bit. Yeah, so, you know, we spent a few years, like, just excising all of that mince from the set, and learned to play our instruments better, got better, and performance, songwriting, just doing it.
Yeah.
But, like, also just because there was enough indie venues and indie promoters to get you up and down on an absolute, you know, shoestring. You know, petrol wasn't as expensive. You could still get those £29 travel lodge rooms, and they still let you those days cram everybody into the one room as well. So it was kind of like an apprenticeship that way. You just every spare moment that you had, you would just bundle and go and do these shows.
But they were so brilliant. I mean, I was seeing you from really quite early on, and when I think back on the places, you know, I saw you, this is maybe a bit later, but still Kid Canaveral, I saw you in Ullapool, I would see you in the Isle of Egg, let alone the kind of gigs on the mainland, if you like. And it was, you're saying about rinsing out the nonsense, if you like, in one way, but the exuberance, you know, and the joy of playing live just seemed to totally ring out.
I think that was 2011, wasn't it, Ullapool, I think?
Yeah, it's probably about then.
Yeah.
God, was it that long ago?
It was, because Fence Records had just re-released their first album, and we were on tour with Kenny, King Creosote, as his support, but also as his band. It was a really good tour.
It was joyous.
But yeah, we'd got rid of all of the guff from the set, because like we'd actually put the record out by that point, and we're like, yeah, we can stand by this. And yeah, that was a crazy year though, because like we put out Shouting Wildlife, the first Kid Canaveral record, ourselves on CD, on straight to video, and then Fence Records re-released it a year later, because we'd sold thousands of the CD, which seems mental these days.
Yeah.
But just like in a short period of time, and like part of that was because we'd been going up and down, like Scotland, England, Wales, trying to just get in front of people. So when that record came out, we were going back to places where people were coming to see us, and that was great. And so that year was nuts. So the Fence released it on vinyl, which was so exciting, because it was like, oh my god, it's a LP. And we went to South by Southwest, and we played like 3 shows in New York before it in March of 2011, and it was nuts because like, we went on stage at this place in Brooklyn, and it was in Williamsburg, and it was just as it was starting to get gentrified, and it was this place called Brewer Falls, and like the guy just loved the Falls of Brewer. The guy that ran it, and I was like, alright, okay, this is strange. So
no more explanation needed as far as he was concerned.
No, and then I remember, we walked on stage, and it's like, there's more people here to see us in New York than we would have in front of us in like Dundee or somewhere at the moment. And then, but like going to America was really good for us because it made more people back home pay attention. That was the biggest advantage of it.
Yeah, I remember getting the odd dispatch from you all from America. Quite an adventure. It's incredible that was that long ago. You're saying like 2011 or thereabouts, and here we are, you know, not just the rest of the Kid Canaveral records in, but you're on the 4th Broken Chanter album, which seems wild to me. I mean, I do remember when you were saying, right, you know, I'm going to do something new, and I think I've probably even got emails of you sending suggestions for the name, Broken Chanter being one of many. But you couldn't let that one go, could you? You can maybe remind us why Broken Chanter just kept sticking with you. Now, we don't even think about it.
I do regret it a tiny bit because people expect there to be bagpipes if they look at it. But I don't drink anymore, and just because you know, touring all the time, and people giving you beer and stuff, it just stopped agreeing with me.
Totally.
But the night that we came up with Broken Chanter, me and my wife went round to the Glad Cafe, and we maybe drank a couple of bottles of wine. So, and we had an A4 sheet front and back of possible names, and Broken Chanter was the least bad,
right?
If you can believe it. But I found this photo of me as a toddler. I think it must be 2, and it's me with my granddad's chanter off the bagpipes, and he didn't play the pipes, but he had a chanter for some reason. And every time I'd go over there, I'd crawl up the stairs and then pull it out of wherever it had been
That's
hidden.
beautiful.
And I would play it with the skill that suggested it was broken. And they would hide it in a new place each time. But it's just this little photo of me just absolutely blowing every bit of air in my body through this chanter that's 2/3 of the height of me.
Yeah, quite.
Also, I'm in a very fetching, kind of sporty toddler short and hoodie combo.
You're very good at painting a picture. Broken Chanter, so here we are, 4 albums in. So listen, when we're talking about names and titles, it feels like the title of this record, this could be us, you or anybody else, kind of, we'll talk about the inspiration behind it, but it revels in the sort of same collective spirit a little bit of Chorus of Doubt, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Chorus of Doubt felt quite instructive and sloganeering.
This was the album in 2024? We had a couple of...
2024, yeah. So yeah, this new one's coming out 2 years and 1 week after the last. But it's no, I love the record, but it was more impersonal perhaps, and it was more kind of instructive and like a call to action, whereas this one is more reflective in places about actually the human aspects of that. The one, Chorus of Doubt, was more arm's length, and this one's more of an embrace, I think. Yes,
that's a beautiful way of putting it. That's absolutely true. Tell us a little bit about the etching, and even the kind of colour scheme, the palette, the spirit of it, and where that came from. It's glorious.
So the title's taken from an Arpita Singh etching of the same name, and I saw it in London in March last year.
At the Serpentine?
Yes.
The Remembering exhibition?
Yes.
I was there as well. Not on the same day as you, clearly.
No,
or else you hid very well.
No, I think we would have seen each other. But no, I didn't realise that was our first,
retrospective.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful etching, and it just, the name of it, obviously, I've taken for the album, but like the kind of spirit of it is across the etching, it has lots of little vignettes of friends coming to my house for dinner, maybe they'll come to your house too. People travelling on an aeroplane to my country, maybe they travel to yours too. Terror in my town, maybe terror in your town too. And it just has this kind of it's like the universal nature of the human experience. All of these things could be applicable to anybody looking at it.
And yet, you're so right, you used the word embrace there, and I think that's what's so absolutely true about this as well. It's not raging at it, it's focusing on the warmth and the togetherness. Because it's very easy just to get absolutely irate and go actually mad at everything, as opposed to going, right, what can we do? And we kind of need to cling to each other, because that's all we got. Yeah,
and I think that it's a very kind of human piece, of art that she's done, because it shows all the things that kind of can connect us, and like one of the things that you can stand and look at any gallery that's been displayed at in the world, and someone from that place can relate to it, because we all love, we all eat, we all fart, we all sleep.
Exactly.
And just we are being dragged away from that kind of human connection at the moment, because there is such an isolating effect, I think, of all of us being constantly connected to the internet in our pockets with our phones.
The great irony, So at what point did you see that painting in the etching, in the writing, in the making of the album? When did that come to sort of, if you like, in some way articulate what you wanted to explore? Was it at the beginning, the end? Was there a eureka moment when you...
It was at the beginning.
Right.
I was down in London visiting my best mate, he lives down there. We went along to that, and was looking about, and then just... I was also starting to kind of have the ideas for another record kind of percolate at that time.
Okay.
And we had one or two other bits of touring planned for the last ones, but I wanted to get a kind of jump on it while I had a couple of weeks to think about it. And as soon as I saw that, I was just like, right, that's that's the next album.
Really? Just struck you and that was it? Brilliant.
Because it had a couple of like bits and bobs of demos at that point, but things that I'd recorded and then put to the side because I was too busy to finish them.
Sure.
So all of the writing really came after that.
Oh, amazing!
And I just
right,
thought that's a great starting point. That's that's what I want to try and get across. Because another thing around it is just, and I hate that sometimes people have to frame things in this manner, because you should have empathy for people even if you don't know them or live very far away from them. But like, by the lottery of birth, you and I are sitting here recording a podcast rather than being shelled from above by an aggressive colonial settlement neighbour. And I that could be us.
Completely.
And the fact that so many people are just willing to accept the destruction of Palestine and the now significant annexation of the Lebanon by Israel is just, it's beyond me. And if the way to push back against that, instead of just being like, well, you should have strong feelings about that being bad, but if we have to go as far as say, well, that could be you if you hadn't just randomly popped out of someone at York Hill Children's Hospital 20, 30, 40 years ago. That could be you.
Completely.
And to expand on that, though, I think like the really dangerous thing is that if we just accept that as something that just happens in that part of the world, like, if we've now gone back, if we've rolled back never again to, well, that's fine there, like genocide is fine in this circumstance, well, then it becomes fine anywhere by anybody.
Yeah.
Like, once we've accepted that sort of the worst. Yeah,
where are your boundaries?
Yeah, the worst crime that man can perpetrate on man, then it's it's game over for anyone, because once that becomes acceptable somewhere, somebody can justify it anywhere. So,
Completely. But it's also that thing you're saying about perhaps if Chorus of Doubt was a little bit more at arm's length, although a gorgeous album and very, very striking, but you are kind of like pulling it back to that sort of the very, very personal aspect of it, the heart of it in many ways.
And like, I don't want to hector people, because like everybody's overwhelmed.
Yeah, quite.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm constantly being bombarded with information, and a lot of that information is adverts or just completely superfluous doom scrolling nonsense. And I never want to lecture anybody, so like it's about trying to kind of communicate something in an embrace, to be like, it's going to be okay.
Were there any particular songs, once you had hit on this idea, the essence of this title? You're saying that effectively, other than a couple of demos, really, that was you very, very much fired up into writing. So I don't need the chronology of every track, but just, in that same spirit, if you like, were there any points where you got, yeah, okay, for songs that came early on in the incarnation of this?
So that title just became an umbrella, and it was a working title.
Totally, yeah.
And I was glad when the album felt like, that is actually a fair enough title for it. But, I think the Chorus of Doubt was done in a very specific kind of post-punk, agit pop kind of style. And whereas this new record just kind of followed where the songs went, rather than try to wedge it into a shape. On this one, it was more like, this one runs into this one, it makes sense as a body of work, and there's a couple of more reflective and lower key moments on it as well that aren't as in your face and relentless. I think the first song that I'd put the chords together for was A Year Without a Summer.
Okay.
And that was in between the first and second kind of legs of the Chorus of Doubt touring, and I was like, I want to switch off, and I'm going to mess about with some synthesizers. I'd lost my father-in-law just before the last record came out, and I was very close to him. He was a wonderful man, and it was a really, really difficult year for everyone, and I was doing my best to kind of look after my my life and extended family and stuff. But, you know, it was I felt a bit like it was delaying my own feelings about it. That was the first song that kind of, I just saved it as like a year without a summer. That the music, and I put it to side for like 9 months. But that was how it felt. Just like you have this all encompassing kind of grief all around you, and obviously other people were feeling it more acutely than I, despite how close I was to the man. But that was the first song. And
it is so powerful. It's a stunning song. It's a very, very personal song, I think, to you, but also to anyone else who would listen to it. You know, it's got that closeness about it. But conversely, on at least one of the other tracks, you are you're doing something quite different. You're kind of playing a character in many ways, or let's say reflecting on a character. Yes. Okay, Shake It to Bits. This happens to be the first couple of singles that we've touched on in that order, funnily enough.
The first single, Shake It to Bits, is like, you know, you can see it as a linking piece to the previous album, because it is agitated, it's punky, it's full of energy, and like I put myself in the shoes of, you know, I suppose it kind of changes slightly throughout the song, but either one of those manosphere fannies, or one of the acolytes who buys into it all, and it's alarming that you know, I used to be an insecure wee guy, and you know, there are lots of things that young men come up against that can make them feel insecure and alienated and stuff, and it's unfortunate that these kind of vultures just swoop in and are like, well, do you know why you're feeling like that? It's women.
Oh God, I know, it's terrifying.
You know, I felt weird and alienated, but I've never, you know, luckily I've managed to avoid joining a cult that takes brain force pills, eats only mints.
So far.
Yeah, so far, you know, maybe a midlife crisis will really hit hard.
Maybe around album 5. I was very delighted to hear within the record you continuing in the great line of Scottish pop protest, and recording, which side are you on? Sorry, WSAYO. First heard that when Deacon Blue recorded it as the B-side to Loaded.
Yes, I only came across the Deacon Blue version when I was going through all the versions that we've done of this, but I didn't want to do like a straight up kind of cover of it. I just wanted it to be a wee visit to it, just at the very end of the album before the last song, to just ask a question.
Yeah, quite.
And there's some field recordings in that from Bilbao and out in Copenhagen as well when I was there, and there's a recording of a pro-Palestine march, just kind of echoes out towards the end of the song, just because I like, across the 4 Broken Chanter records, I like to try and have a wee snippet of kind of found sounds and field recordings, just to like almost diarise, like, you know, it's like, oh, this was recorded at this specific time and here's where I was, so like obviously like, oh, I remember writing those words and stuff, but it's nice to have that wee kind of audio snippet of over which I've got no control.
Yeah.
Because the first Broken Chanter record owns with a train that I'd recorded in Japan.
That's right.
And then each of them have all got a wee kind of snippet somewhere on them. So.
I love that though. I love the idea that very much zooms out, doesn't it? And then it zooms back in on all of us, or indeed any of us. You mentioned the last track there, so I love, as always, there is certainly a sort of David MacGregor tradition in Kid Canaveral and in Broken Chanter of like going out on an epic.
Aye, well,
it's brilliant. And also we should say WSAYO lowercase in brackets, and then we have centres, capitals. Yeah, I mean, that was a working title, and sometimes the working title they just stay about. And when we were in Riga, I'd got a map, and that was just written in huge text in the middle of the map. Because, I know, it's like, there you go. And I was just looking through some stuff to
to find a notebook that had the words for centres in it, and it didn't have a working title yet. So I found that map when I was shifting through things, and I was like, that'll do. And, there's a certain vibe of like self-centeredness to the lyric, and you was like, actually, by serendipity, that does actually fit.
Completely.
Which side are you on in lowercase and square brackets is just me being a wank.
No, it's not. I love this.
No, but it's to show that it's just like, this is just a wee interlude.
Yeah.
A wee snippet of it.
It totally works. It totally works. Florence Reese, of course, I think that brilliant and enduring chant as much of a song. You mentioned their kind of working titles, and sometimes they just become the titles. Now, I can't remember what record it was on where Paul Savage, who of course is production duties again this time round, and he was getting on at you to such a point because you were like, he was like, you're not sending me anything. You talked about procrastination, and I'm pretty sure there were like various tracks. Was it Shotgun? Were there like different Shotgun named tracks at one point because you just had to send them stuff? Yeah,
it was. So I've worked with Paul for the past 3 records, including the new one, and we recorded the first one that we did together, Catastrophe Hits, in 2021, and it was as soon as we were allowed to start working, we got into the practice room, 2 metres apart in masks and stuff.
Oh God, of course.
And it was quite. But yeah, Paul was like, "You've not sent me any demos, and you need to send me demos because that's how we do pre-production.
That's how we make a record."
Yeah, that's how I give you some producer notes. And he's like, "I'm going to have to get my producer shotgun out and come round and threaten you with it." So there's like, I think it was like Shotgun Savage 1 to 6.
Brilliant.
And then he was like, "Right, that's fine. You can start calling them other things now."
I love that we've got this kind of threatening vibe to him, because Paul Savage, again, of course, co-founder of Chemical Underground, co-founder of the Delgados, also produced several incredible Deacon Blue albums quite recently as well, funnily enough, since we're mentioning them. But yeah, that's a relationship that's just kind of carried, not just the Chemical one, but the Chem 19 and the Paul Savage. It's still there.
I find I learned a lot from Paul that first time around, and about songwriting, to be honest, and it got to the stage where we were comfortable enough that he would send me notes like, "Yeah, this sounds good, but I'm curious why you've not written a chorus." And
I hate choruses, Paul.
Yeah, rather than being crushed.
Hence Chorus of Doubt. All right, a whole new meaning.
Yeah, rather than being crushed, like we've been working together for long enough to go, "No, he's got a point. I'll go in. I'll stop being lazy." It's. Yeah, I learned a lot from that first record, and then for the second record we did together, which was Chorus of Doubt, I felt like I was doing absolutely everything possible to get 0 notes from him on the demos.
Brilliant.
So it's like, "Yeah, that's a really strange thing that you've done there with the amount of bars or the time signature." It's like, "Yeah, because you told me to do some weird stuff last time, so I'm just doing it, out the gate this time."
He's like, "David, could I have a verse?"
No, it's just like, it's like
this song with 6 choruses is prog rock epic. I'm here for that, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's lovely. That's an ongoing relationship, and we should probably wrap up quite soon because you got to get some rehearsals and get out on the road and get a record out. I've not seen the artwork, but let's just quickly talk about the artwork and the actual colouring, because the colour scheme, including the vinyl, sounds wonderful.
So if we can fetch a record.
Oh yeah, let's do that as our little. Let's do that as our little sign off. Unboxing. Oh, a podcast unboxing. I'm at David's house. I'm in the kitchen. David has oh my goodness, here we go. My first look. Oh,
this is your copy. There you go.
Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce that word because I would just always say blue balls. The drink.
I know.
Cocktail. How do you say that?
Is it Curacao?
Curacao.
I think.
Curacao. Obviously, I love it being a child of the 80s because it does look like the blue Curacao. Blue Balls cocktail, basically.
Yes,
colour. Beautiful. And again, this is in keeping with the sort of colour palette of the artwork that
it's slightly
inspired
slightly more teal than the etching, just in case...
yeah, careful.
I got too annoyed.
Like Eve Klein Blue vibes.
Yeah.
Right.
It is essential to have actual vinyl and CDs and T-shirts these days because it's the only thing that keeps a band on the road, you know, and it makes it possible because it's getting harder and harder to tour
Yeah.
Like, everything's more expensive. Fuel, hotels, and you need to still pay everybody fairly and feed them.
I know it's not easy, but my God, how absolutely brilliant all these years after you picked up that Mogwai EP in what was Avalanche's Now Love Music in Glasgow, to be sat here with you, David, like looking at this incredible new record and it having the Chemical Underground. There's something really lovely about that. It's like sometimes we have to just kind of remember and cling on to the good stuff as well as each other.
Yes.
The lovely David MacGregor chatting about the new Broken Chanter album, This Could Be Us, You or Anybody Else, which is out now on Chemical Underground. He's live in Dundee, Inverness, Aberdeen, Glasgow and Leith in the coming weeks. And before that, you can catch him live at Edinburgh's Voxbox on Saturday, April the 18th. That's as part of their Record Store Day celebrations, along with lots of other fab acts. Kai Risu are playing, as is Catherine Joseph, and you can listen back to a Kick Up the Arts with Catherine and Lomond Campbell if you fancy. If you'd like to hear more chat about Scottish indie music and working titles, there's an episode with Norman Blake from Teenage Fan Club where he reflects on how the concept came to have that very name, among many, many other things. There's also an episode with David's bygone collaborator and Fence Collective ally King Creosote. Those gigs they played together back in the Kid Canaveral days were quite something. David and I also touched on Deacon Blue in that chat there. You can listen back to A Kick Up the Arts with Ricky Ross and Lorraine McIntosh. Imagine that. They've got a new live version, incidentally, of their latest album, The Great Western Road. That's just out in time for Record Store Day as well. Now, if you fancy joining me for any live conversations, I'm with Vera and Shetland creator Anne Cleves at Edinburgh Castle. No biggie, that's on April the 24th. I'm then joining brilliant writer Michael Peterson at the Bookmonger in Bears Den on April 28th. I'll be chatting with fab female and non-binary collective Henhoose at their Queen's Hall concert on May the 28th. And I have more events to announce soon, including something involving Agnes Owen's wonderful work and something involving Steve Mason from the Beta Band. Keep your eyes peeled for that. For now, though, I'll give you peace. Thank you, as always, for listening, for getting in touch, and for keeping me company. Bye for now.